Our nonprofit side, because we align all of our projects with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and we provide smart results, if you will, those specific, measurable, attainable goals, where a donor donates X amount of money, they can see exactly how that money was used. And for instance, we're deploying health kiosks in Africa, and we have some that do breast cancer screening, and we can say during the month of August, we screened 1,200 women, and out of those 1,200 women, 512, if you think about that, had breast anomalies and required further screening. And they were all under the age of 25 because breast cancer kills women under 30 in Africa. The average death rate is over 60%, and the average age of people dying from breast cancer is 28. And I'm just saying it's a lot different than breast cancer in North America. And I think that has to do, I'm not a medical person, but so our biggest challenge is to find people. And who was it that said people are your greatest asset and your greatest vulnerability? You guys all know that.
Is how do I connect with peers and be able to help them grow their business and to be able to do what I think about is do business, refer business, actually do joint ventures. And I started thinking, well, how about if we call it CoVentures? We could welcome you to a world of CoVentures. CoVentures is just another word for doing business, but I like CoVentures because it has the derivative of ventures, adventures. So when we do that is what if we were able to promote some of our co-venture partners in this world so that other people could see them and be able to exchange a little bit more. Teresa mentioned she started Blackbird Global just recently in the last year or two to expand to the world. Actually, she's in 4 continents leading with cybersecurity and being able to step into healthcare, manufacturing, water, food, things that organizations and not only that, but also governments would need. Out of that, we co-authored, co-anchored, and brought together a cyber academy that you're able to step into and be able to have access to modules of cybersecurity information and training. Right now it's in English. We're transitioning to multiple languages. Peers on Demand, we have a session every day, every workday of the month. And we transition also with Echo.ai for assessments, mental and health assessments, Savvy.ai for healthcare employee benefits, and also with Entrepreneurs University with Bob Norton. And he's here today. You could say more about the 600 modules that he has, multiple courses, a CEO co-venture that he has, and is a direction to be able to grow your business. We're also working with Inspire World for e-commerce initiatives, for Continuum Foundation for virtual solutions, government bids, RSL for welfare transfer, Ruba World. We're starting up a CoVentures community in Malaysia that will expand in the Southeast Asia. So the key is that we have multiple different areas of interest as our CoVenture partners join us. We started with investments, and it seems that investments and also marketing is a big area to expand. But out of that, of course, technology is the foundation for a lot of our business. So is e-commerce and doing business and being able to do distribution both physically and on the virtual world with cryptocurrency, blockchain, digital transformation. And healthcare, of course, is expanding and growing as there's an aging population here in the US and some of the countries in the world, but also much more needed until in assessments, neuroplasticity, and coaching. Advisor capacities with communications, coaching, consulting, wealth transfer that RSL does, and philanthropic areas like nonprofit, global foundations, recycling, sustainability. The key here is that we can step in and be able to be part of a world that we call CoVentures and be able to engage in doing business at different levels. And I'm looking for co-venture partners that would join us and be able to expand wherever you're at in different industries. What are the big ideas in your business? What are the challenges that you're facing and how are you approaching it in the next 6 to 12 months? Steve Henry.
Hi, thank you. The biggest issue is that a lot of organizations, especially in the 50 to the 150 size, they really don't understand the necessity for protecting their assets at the level that is required. Everyone just has this mindset that they have some type of backup or some kind of issue. But cybersecurity is much more than that. There's immutable backups that, and with the cloud, and also there's training. There's a lot of more sophisticated software that goes with the end users. The biggest thing we did is I just finished a big disaster recovery from Kira. It got attacked, and there were 70 people at this firm, and it destroyed all the data except the data in the cloud, destroyed all the servers, destroyed all the appliances, and we were able to put it all back and get them up and running in about 3 days. But what we see is there's a major emphasis on this, and there also has to be there's a cost associated, but the cost is minimal because as you've seen in the public domain here, the car dealer, the one who supplies to the car dealership, I mean, they got encrypted with this ransomware, and it's just very expensive. So the trend here and what I bring to the table is the experience of being able to install that, being able to do the testing, and we can even have it certified from the outside to make sure that the computer system is adequately protected. The training programs are in place, and that these organizations are able to basically thwart this attack.
Yeah, well, I like the idea that you can get into a situation where data is destroyed and you can resurrect it and make it good again. So, Steve, let's talk about your business. What's the biggest challenge in your business going forward in the next 6 to 12 months, Steve?
I would think the biggest thing that we have personally is we are always constantly trying to obtain clients that fit the correct market. And with the international focus and being able to, it's a communication, we're basically in a communication business, and we apply technology to solve business problems. That's what we do. So our biggest issue is always mine, is being able to talk to the CEO or talk to the CIO and be able to make them understand, to use a better term, to convince them what their needs are, and to avoid any disasters that possibly can occur in the future.
One of my members was attacked about I guess about 2 years ago, and he was talking on his cell phone to his chief financial officer, and a Russian fellow interrupted the phone call and told him that he had just attacked their base. They had cyber insurance, and they thought they had it well protected. At the end, it cost them about $1 million. They did not pay any monies to the hacker, but that's what it costs them to put the service back up. So cybersecurity is a critical important. The companies that you state are really not necessarily aware of it. I mean, they're aware, but they don't really know what they should do. So I think that there's a major opportunity for you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, what we've seen to answer that, this one attack, it was $185,000 ransom. They didn't pay any of it. But the key to that in that cybersecurity is actually making immutable type backups and being able to store those in the cloud typically. And it allows you, with the technology that's available today that may not have been true even 3 to 5 years ago, to be able to do that. So if you have on-premise devices, it's possible to store them and replicate them in the cloud in immutable fashion where they cannot be damaged, they cannot be attacked. And that's the best way to kind of prevent total disaster and spending millions of dollars, as you mentioned.
I sell shopping centers and office buildings, and I've been doing that for about 30 years. Our biggest challenge is interest rates. I mean, it's not any different than residential real estate. My focus, it's always been the same. I keep it simple. There's about 1,500 owners that I follow very closely. I'm in touch with all the time, sharing market information. And hopefully when they go to sell, if I can get 8% or 9% of those transactions, I'm a hero. So that's my job. I mean, I really try to keep it pretty simple. I try to add value whenever I possibly can. I'm in maybe a niche industry. If interest rates change, then there'll be more velocity. Um, and I wrote a book called Power Broker, How to Be Successful in Business and Life. And I think that's why maybe I've been on a few podcasts. Real simple. I believe in that as we get further away from human contact, we get further away from those skills that help us be successful. If communication really is 55% body language, 38% tone, and only 7% from the message.
My main activity is what I call peer boards. If you're familiar with Vistage, who is the giant in the field, I used to be in, I don't know if you're familiar with YPO or not. YPO is an organization that's an acronym for Young Presidents Organization, where you had to be a president of a company before your 40th birthday. And I was in the first advisory board that they put together in YPO. So I basically do that now. And the main issue today is, which was kind of brought up before, is that communication is a major difficulty. Because of COVID, people now are using Zoom and texts a lot more than they are using phone calls. To get a person on the phone is extremely difficult, maybe next to impossible. So the aspect of relationship building is more difficult. My aspect is that people I'm working with are mostly baby boomers, so they're now starting to think about exit strategy. My activity basically is to help business owners get where they want to get. So if their major asset is generally it might be the real estate, but also is probably the company that they own and run. And so my job is to help them. And so I tell people I'm your mentor and also your tormentor. And when they don't do what they say they want to do, then I torment. So I'm basically my activity is working with presidents, business owners, CEOs, and putting them into advisory groups. My challenge is to find people who are younger and want to build their business. And the problem is the methodology to communicate with them and to get their attention.
Specific business now, the careervitals.com, it's more, gaining users and growing that business, or potentially working on some type of joint venture. It's something that runs on its own right now, and that's kind of how I'm looking for that to continue to be completely automatic. But we have an AI component that we're rolling out. So basically, you can have a resume review done by AI for free, and hoping that we can gain more candidates. Candidates obviously bring more jobs, et cetera.
Well, we're creating a standard for a leadership operating system, and unfortunately, there has never been a good one. There are, little parts of it bouncing around, but even the best Ivy League universities do not really teach leadership or cadence or dashboards or how do you control a culture and make the culture a high performance culture. So we're dealing with that. Of course, there are 100 reasons that only 1 in 6,300 companies ever reach 100 million in sales, and only 1 in 400 reach about 10 million in sales. So those figures are from the Kaufman organization that studies entrepreneurship. And so there's a lot to it, and it's complex. I've been developing all of this for about 12 years now and have not tried to scale it. I've installed it in 200 companies. But now I'm beginning to hire and train and certify others to do this using all of our IP and our training platform, which is quite complex. And 10 years from now, no one will have replicated what we've got, which allows us to make a $10 million guarantee. So we've got to build a brand. The challenges are building a brand and having that credibility out there in the marketplace. and balancing the sales and marketing with the training and certification of high quality people that are all gray-haired people with experience in management and leadership and selling and project management and the politics and working with people to both coach and train, because we drop in IP. We're a hybrid of a product and a service. But probably, I think the biggest challenge, and that's yet to be revealed as we begin to scale, but I think probably the biggest challenge is figuring out all the ways and channels that we will use to scale. We're only going after really the top 1 or 2% of companies that are venture capital worthy and have a billion-dollar market opportunity, because they must have sustainable competitive advantage to get risk capital and invested for the long term. So they've got to have high differentiation and obviously barriers to entry around the business. So sales and marketing is probably the challenge. I'm looking for call it a co-founder, even though I've been around for 20 years, to come in as we begin to scale this. Our belief is that you need a visionary, you need an operator, and you need a sales and marketing head if you're really going to scale a company to 10, 20, 50, 100 million, as I've done. I've had taken 2 startups to 100 million in sales in 5 years each. And that's not easy. But I am a believer that you can do it with any company as long as you have innovation and you're constantly creating new products. And I spent the first 8 years of my career in technology and software development and running a skunk works. And I had a 1,000 batting average on launching 5 products in 5 years for Thomson Reuters, where I created all the products for Wall Street. So, I have that unique combination, or I shouldn't say unique combination, but the combination of being a scientist, inventor, and product person, as well as having developed a lot of leadership skills. And it's not easy, it's complicated, but I think the sales and marketing is number one. We like to get in at single digit millions, 1 million in revenue,
Okay.
when there's value proposition and the MVP has been proven, but we'll go in up to 30 or even $50 million. But we couldn't do this at Fortune 2000 companies. We'd get the same 80% failure rate that McKinsey and others get in doing organizational change management programs. That's been true for 40 years. One of the ways we cheat is working with smaller companies that are easier to change than ones that have super glued their culture and their processes and their principles. And it gets harder and harder as the organization gets bigger to control and optimize a culture.
Focus. I've been able to bring that background to the small to medium-sized business who generally have no foundation. And so what Bob's talking about is helping businesses lay the foundation, and that's the critical part. So as I mentioned earlier, the people, performance, and profits, that's the aspect of how do you lay things down so that you can grow, so that you can scale and make things work. When it comes to the challenges, my biggest challenge is remembering to do what every other smaller business needs to remember, and that is you market at the same time you are working. Because generally smaller businesses tend to forget that they need to market themselves. The challenge, of course, is always that most of us, self-included, we got into business, we ran it by the seat of our pants, and then later down the road, we went, oops, this doesn't work. Let's go backwards and start again.
What I wanted to say, really, this is to a lot of people on this call. I do a lot of work with Native Americans. I'm on the board of the American Indian Chamber of Commerce. A lot of work with First Nations and Indigenous people. If you're looking at starting to do how to do a business leadership development stuff, I would say reach out to those in those communities in the United States. And I can't speak to Canada, but really there are organizations that cater to the needs of business development in those particular Indigenous communities. I'm also a member on the board of the World Conference of Mayors of the National Black Business League. R&T Professional Services does cybersecurity assessments. We do it in the critical infrastructure space most of our clients are like heads of state or heads of corporate businesses. We started out in the SMB area, but we kind of got propelled out of that, if you will. We're one of those organizations that can do HIPAA assessments, high trust, CMMC. I can name drop all these major things, SOX. Uh, but and if you look at Homeland Security, there's 16 critical infrastructure sectors, and they're everything from transportation to nuclear power to energy to water. We have people certified to do all those things, including 5 nuclear engineers. So our big things are there's a lot of opportunities to help people get their defenses in place. There's no way you can prevent a cyber attack unless you get rid of all the bad people, but which isn't ethically possible. So we have that assessment, and right now we're bringing on 19. We have 19 open slots on our team. So finding people that are trained and capable and have the right mental approach to doing cybersecurity assessments in an aggressive way, not aggressive but assertive way, that's hard. So one of our things is finding people, training people, getting them positioned to do what needs to be done. So our Cyber Academy, where, as you mentioned earlier, we are expanding our training programs, not just in English, but Arabic, French, and Spanish. And that's been very interesting. On our nonprofit side, because we align all of our projects with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we provide smart results, if you will, those specific, measurable, attainable goals, where a donor donates X amount of money, they can see exactly how that money was used. And for instance, we're deploying health kiosks in Africa, and we have some that do breast cancer screening, and we can say during the month of August, we screened 1,200 women, and out of those 1,200 women, 512, if you think about that, had breast anomalies and required further screening, and they were all under the age of 25 because breast cancer kills women under 30 in Africa. The average death rate is over 60%, and the average age of people dying from breast cancer is 28. And I'm just saying it's a lot different than breast cancer in North America. And I think that has to do, I'm not a medical person, but so our biggest challenge is to find people. And who was it that said people are your greatest asset and your greatest vulnerability? You guys all know that. So we're looking at people who aren't afraid to actually not be talking to their cell phone, not be people that aren't afraid to actually stand in front of another person and do stuff, which means you have to travel, you have to get your shots, you have to have a passport, but you also have to have the skills to be able to look at somebody in the eye and either give them good news or bad news, or listen. And listening is a skill that a lot of us have.
It's a tough one because, well, I use the terminology, you want the right people on the right bus in the right seat heading the right direction. If you've got that, then you can build the business. If you don't have that, you're hooped because you've got people going in different directions. And I think it's Bob, I believe, that talks about the vision. And that's the critical part, is where do you want to get to and what are the people that you need to help you get there? And I'm not sure if that builds on what you're talking about, Teresa, or if it's in a different direction. But
I have 2 businesses, but I'll talk about the one that I started in the last century, which began its life as a marketing research consulting firm, and over the years refined its expertise and specialty to business retention. So retention of large-scale enterprise projects or contracts, and retention of the employees who are the relationship managers within enterprise organizations. We work in Canada as well as the US, and I have a new project that's going to take us to the UK. And each client that we work with is unique. In other words, we don't work with multiple companies in a particular vertical. Most of the companies are business to business. We have a large presence in supply chain, which would mean we would work with one warehouse or one trucking company one leasing company, one trailer rental company. So all within that industry, but none of them competing with one another. Because we believe that we offer secret sauce, and our relationships are typically long-term. The longest one so far is 26 years. And so we're an integral part of their growth and grew along with those companies. Where we lose business is when there's a change of leadership and the new CEO brings their own team. So we have been the beneficiaries of that sort of change over the years. And so our biggest challenge is to find new clients in new market and to bring our expertise to those companies so that they can focus on growth without having to focus on net replacement before growth.
My invitation is that you consider joining us again. We do this on a monthly basis with presidents of organizations, but you don't have to be a president. You could be a trusted advisor or a client of services or both. And but certainly my other invitation is that you join any of our other free events, join our community, peersondemand.com, and also consider our CoVentures world, where we can showcase you, promote you, and be able to shine a light on you so that people can know who you are.